It's been a week since I did my debate with Dave Rubin, and that episode ended up going viral. It was Jubilee's Surrounded episode, one MAGA conservative versus 20 far left. They called it Democrats, even though I don't consider myself a Democrat. I would say far left progressives. And it's so interesting to see the internet react to this because Dave Rubin actually did a really terrible job. And that was not only the consensus among us 20 that actually did the debate with him, but apparently the internet now too, including Piers Morgan, who, was rather friendly with Dave Rubin, and a whole bunch of other conservatives who said objectively he did a really terrible job. But Dave has now also gone viral as well because he has been going around the internet saying that he was afraid for his life, that we all had daggers in our eyes, that we hated him so much, and he was so fearful that one of his assistants or producers, whoever was there with him, was going to have to step in because he didn't know if we were going to attack him during the debate. It has been wild to see him fully crashing out because he did so objectively bad in this episode that he is now trying to save face by lying. He's lying. Also, it does not make him look any better to be lying in this way because it makes him look like a full-on snowflake. Something that they love to call the radical left. But he is 100% displaying as himself being a snowflake. Before we get into today's episode, YouTube audience, make sure that you are fully subscribed. It really helps me grow this channel. And if you would like to see the full-length episodes, you can subscribe over on Substack. That is where the full-length episodes of my podcast always go to first, and YouTube gets a shorter version of those episodes. So make sure that you are subscribed on Substack. It is free, or you can become a paid subscriber there, but make sure that you also hit the subscribe button on this channel. It really helps me grow. Leave a comment down below as you watch today's episode as well, so that I know that you are fully engaged. Okay, let's go. On today's episode, I actually have some reactions for you. So let's go ahead and get into what Dave actually said, and then we're going to respond.
The entire thing, it was 3 hours. It was gross. Like, I could feel the daggers coming at me. The ones that, mostly they had horrible scowls on their faces, but the ones that smiled at me actually seemed like the most dangerous because they were like Joker smiles. And well, not kidding at all, guys.
Dave, that was the part that drove me crazy. If I were sitting in that seat where you were, and all that contempt and the weird Joker smiles, it was so distracting and so unpleasant. You can't have discourse. I don't know how you pulled it off.
Truly, in some weird way, I just was like, you know what, I get hate, I get love, it is what it is. I'll just sit here and do it. But to sit around 20 people that have nothing but hatred for you, like there wasn't even I tried my best to, even with the trans person, we'll show you a clip in a second, to use, I said her pronouns. I tried to say, I'll show you a little respect to start this thing. They offered nothing. And I honestly believe several of them would have killed me if given the opportunity, truly. And you all know my guy Joey, who works for me. And he said to me after, he said, Dave, I made a choice halfway through that if one of them was going to attack you, I was going to get involved. Because that's the level of tension that was in that room. Anyway.
So he has fully crashed out, claiming that we wanted to essentially commit murder in front of cameras. Like, the level of grifting that this man does on a regular basis is wild. But sir, you look like a full-on snowflake because, number one, production had security there. There was no way that we were even allowed to walk in with any sort of weapon at all because we had to get our bags checked. We had security there in the room with us the entire time. So whatever he was afraid of was all in his delusional brain. It was not going to happen. But I thought that it was really funny that the only thing that he could possibly say that potentially made him do a bad job is that he was afraid for his life. he objectively is a horrible debater, and he is a grifter, and that is why he did such a bad job. So we're actually going to take a look at the 4 minutes that I had to debate him. The reason I only had that limited amount of time is because I went at the end of the 3rd prompt, and there was only about a minute to a minute and a half left on the clock. They actually ended up giving me slightly more time because Dave wanted to engage with me a little bit longer. But essentially, I had less than 5 minutes to get my point across. And so we are going to watch our exchange now. Here we go.
Hi.
Hello.
I actually will agree with you that establishment Democrats have done a really terrible job of ensuring that their policies reflect what the people actually want. Most people want universal health care.
Yeah.
Most people want free higher education so that they can actually get a job and move up in life.
I don't know that it's most people, but a certain set of people
will
do.
say that they
Yeah.
would love for the rich to be taxed at the same rate that they used to be, closer towards the 90%, rather
So
than
you wanna
taxing,
tax the rich
rather
at
than
90%.
taxing the rest of the population that can barely pay their rent.
Yeah.
And then they're watching shows like yours.
Okay, so we're going to pause it there. You can already see that he tried to interject multiple times, but I have practiced debating long enough that I do not allow men especially to interrupt me that much. So here's the thing. As soon as I sat down, they actually cut a portion of the episode out that I don't know if I can even talk about it, but it was really funny. I had the entire room laughing because I wanted to kind of lift the energy up for my portion because I knew I had such a limited amount of time that I didn't want people to be like sleeping at the wheel. I wanted them to be reacting to me as much as possible. So I had a really funny joke in there, and I'm not sure that I can even say what it was, but we are going to talk a little bit later about something that, you know, I did speak to that didn't make it onto air. But essentially, when I posted this portion of the debate on my Instagram, it went mini viral, and a lot of women love that I did not let him interrupt me, that I finished my thought thoroughly, even though he tried to interrupt me several different times. Now, the reason that I ended up talking about this, because the prompt was progressives are pushing normal, moderate Americans to the right. That is his prompt. I obviously disagree with that prompt. However, there is polling and there is evidence that young men are moving slightly more to the right versus young women who are predominantly progressive. And young people in general, so young voters, 18 to, I believe, 25, are much more progressive than they've ever been. So that is my argument. However, we're going to backtrack this a little bit more. The reason that I talked about establishment Democrats, which I actually ended up talking about corporatist Democrats, is that by and large, even the DNC would agree with this, by and large, young progressives want the Democrats, especially establishment Democrats, to become anti-corporatists in their policies. Unfortunately, they haven't been. And so young men tend to watch people like Dave Rubin and the far right and think to themselves, yeah, because the Democrats aren't, doing nearly what they have been promising to do in terms of their policies, it is actually pushing some young men who don't have the level of critical thinking skills that they should have, that women, tend to possess much younger. Then sometimes they listen to these people and they think, yeah, I totally agree with this guy. So that was my main point, is that his grifting is what's pushing some people, specifically young men, to the right. It is not progressives, because the consensus is, and polling and evidence shows this, which is what I showed in my Instagram clip, Instagram clip is that young voters are predominantly moving to the left. And the reason is because most people do want social programs like universal health care, like tuition-free higher education, like universal child care, things like that. These are all social programs that are tend to be very, very progressive. So that is what I was trying to argue here. And I only had, again, less than 5 minutes to prove my point. So no, I was not going to let him talk over me. Okay, let's go back to reacting to the rest of it.
And they're hearing ideology more so than factual evidence. Yeah. And they're saying, you know what? Yeah, the Democrats, establishment Democrats, haven't been doing much that they said that they were going to do. So let me listen to this guy.
Correct.
And everything you give is emotion and ideology. So yeah, sometimes people who don't have nearly as much critical thinking as they probably should are going to move to the right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll stop it there. So as you can see, and I knew this was going to happen, which is why I kept on talking. I said it's actually you guys, the far right, that are speaking out of emotion and ideology and not us. And of course he had to say, oh yeah, it's us. I straight up called it out to his face, and like a typical man, he tried to insinuate that it's actually me, a woman, who is far more emotional, despite the fact that I am fully composed. I am speaking articulately. I haven't stuttered once in this 1 minute exchange so far. I'm not crying. I'm not yelling. I am fully confident in what I am saying and speaking to. And of course he says, no, it's actually you guys that are the emotional ones. But everything I said is actually backed up by the evidence. 63% of Americans want universal health care, want some form of Medicare for all, and higher education. So he couldn't rebut that. So here we are. Okay, let's keep going.
But honestly, the base that's actually growing are the progressive base. Young voters are becoming much more progressive than they ever were.
True. Yeah.
Why? Because again, most people.
Well,
want
I agree.
the
I
universal
agree with
healthcare.
that. That a lot of young people are very confused about what America is
they're
and what
confused
freedom
about what
is.
they want?
Yeah, they are. So
Really?
I mean, we could just do a few of what you just said. So,
Sure.
how much money would you like to take from anyone to get whatever policy you want? What is the number? How much money should anyone have that you want to take to get whatever it is that you want done? Please give me a number.
It's interesting that you're using the rhetoric of taking when we're literally talking about a state, a society that functions solely through making sure that most people have their basic needs met.
Okay, so the reason I called out that rhetoric is because Dave Rubin is the type of guy who says he wants to lower taxes on everybody, but what he actually wants to do is eliminate taxes for the rich and make sure that the working class continues to be taxed at a high rate. But he will claim that he wants us to keep as much money as possible. That's not actually true. He just wants people like Elon Musk, which he will name in a second, to keep as much money as possible. And it is rhetoric, right? Like it's not rooted in actual economic policy, like good economic policy. Because as we know, having wealth inequality is directly correlated to having lower taxes for the rich.
So how
Unfortunately,
much?
establishment Democrats have moved so towards the corporatist side that they have forgotten what the people actually want.
So how much
So
of Elon,
that's where
so
we
how
agree.
much of
Where
Elon
we
Musk?
disagree
All right, so let's use Elon
is your
Musk, for
rhetoric
example.
around, I'm going to take as much money as I can from the rich.
It is taking.
It's not taking.
No, it is. Of course it is. What do you mean? If you
It's-
don't give, if they say we're going to take it and you don't give it, they're going to put you in jail, right? So it is taking. If
You're
it
saying
is so benevolent,
taxes, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to
yeah.
jail.
If it is so benevolent.
Okay, so the reason, because I ended up getting confused on what it was that he started talking about, because again, he kept trying to interrupt me and I was trying to finish a point. So then I lost track for about 5 seconds there where I was like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about taxes now or are you talking about something else? So that's why I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying now. As soon as I got back on track, then it was like full speed ahead.
benevolent to do these things, then why don't more people do it?
No, it's just part of being a person living in a country.
Okay, so
Every
how much,
country has taxes.
So how much of Elon Musk's money would you like to take from him to do what?
I would actually like for billionaires and the rich in general to pay the same amount that they were paying back in the 1950s.
Okay, so that's a rather radical position if you want.
In the 1950s? Mostly it was Republicans that were in office.
Want to
The fact that he is a part of MAGA, which stands for Make America Great Again, which actually means they want to make America the way that it was in the 1950s, where one, people of color were fully subjugated and segregated, but two, because they think that was the greatest economic time in American history. Why? Because the rich were getting taxed at 90%. The wealth inequality was incredibly low in the 1950s. It wasn't for people of color, but that's a whole different story, and that has a lot to do with redlining and segregation. But I'm actually pushing back on the MAGA argument, right? You guys want to make America great again? Good. Tax the rich at the same rate when America was great again, according to you, right? And now he's saying that was radical. Eisenhower was a Republican. He was the president between 1953 until the 1960s. It was Republicans that were in office, and largely MAGA claims that it's the Republicans that have the best economic practices, right? And so for him to be so unself-aware to claim that no, the 1950s, it was radical in terms of taxing, it's just crazy. Okay, let's keep going.
So you want to give that money to the system and the government, which you don't seem to like very much, right? You're talking about corporate Democrats, and you don't like the Republicans, but your solution seems to be, I will take more money and put it into the system to do what I want. What I would prefer to do
what
is
most
that
people want.
what I would prefer to do is that you have a job.
Of course.
Yeah, okay, so I would like you to keep more of your money. I want everyone, again, in this room to keep more of their money. You know what happens when rich people have more of their money? They hire more people. They invest in more things.
So untrue. It is crazy. And that's what I'm saying. People like you will spit out this rhetoric, and people who are living paycheck to paycheck and don't have nearly as much critical thinking.
We gotta pause there. We're out of time. We're out of time.
Okay, so that's when I ran out of time, and I was about to go into trickle-down economics and how it does not work, because that's what he was arguing for, but you can see 000 on the clock. I completely had run out of time, and actually had run out of time about 2 minutes before they actually said I ran out of time. So it was wild. So what he's talking about, what he's advocating for, trickle-down economics, has been massively debunked. We've had around 50 to 70 years to figure out if trickle-down economics actually works. It does not, spoiler alert. It does not work, guys. Massive wealth inequality. The 1% has 8x'd the amount of wealth and the amount of billionaires that we have right now is due to trickle-down economics, because it does not work. When you give tax breaks to the rich, all they do is hoard the money. They don't actually create more jobs. They are actively trying to take away our jobs by fully funding and investing in AI, which wants to replace human beings. So I was fully about to get into it, but they ended up cutting me off, so I did not get to finish. But objectively, Dave Rubin did a horrible, horrible job, and he has been getting flamed online ever since. So what does the internet actually have to say? A whole lot. The clips that went viral on the Jubilee side were the clips of Mason, Parker, and I believe Hunter, and Evan, that ended up going viral online because they were arguing the Iran war and how Donald Trump has just massively failed in terms of Iran, a war that he was not supposed to start, but that he got himself into on behalf of Israel, and it is creating chaos in the United States. So those clips ended up going viral. They were invited to go on to Piers Morgan Morgan and ended up debating on the same topic of Iran, ended up debating another MAGA Republican who thought he could do a much better job than Dave Rubin and didn't fare any better, in my opinion. Dave, what has Dave said in response to all of this, outside of the grifting of like, oh, I was so afraid for my life? He has only reacted to one clip, and that was with my friend Zena, who goes on Jubilee and Surrounded debates a lot and really does a really good job. But at the Rubin debate, she ended up getting slightly off track, and that is the clip that he ended up responding to. Why? Because in that clip, she makes the assertion that she is a communist, that she believes that the workers should seize the means of production. So, of course, MAGA grifter Dave Rubin is going to use that clip until he can't use the clip anymore. And if you take a look at his channel, that is the only reaction that he's had to the debate. He refuses to put up his debate with Mason, with Evan, with Parker, and with Hunter, who just demolished him in every possible way. So here is what he posted on his YouTube.
Right. Oh, so you're a communist?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mentioned a couple weeks ago when I was in LA, I did this absolutely ridiculous Surrounded show. And it was basically, they have 20, these were all kids that sat around me. This is how they always do the show. And then one person debates them, and they run to the chair, and they come up and you debate all of these people. And I did it. It was, as I said a couple weeks ago, like I didn't want to lead too much. It was just kind of gross. Like these kids, honestly, and they were all kids. I think everybody was under 30. They were children. They were so angry. I could literally.
Okay, so he's going to go into that whole spiel of they hated me so much and blah, 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 whatever. The fact that he's infantilizing the people that were at this debate is really funny because there was a wide range of ages. Not everyone was a quote unquote kid. And even that is a lie because everybody was fully grown. Like they were probably in their like between 20s and mid 30s. So he's claiming that these were all college kids, again, trying to infantilize everyone in terms of intelligence, and then claiming that everybody was a child. I will take that as a compliment. I am in my late 30s, but if I look like I'm in my 20s, great, I will take it. But yeah, he's gonna go into reacting to Zena's clip where I forget what she was arguing, but she claims that she's a communist, and of course he's gonna take that and run with it.
Do you not want people to own private property?
Well, I'm definitely anti-capitalist, I would say.
Yeah.
So I would say that workers should own the means of production.
Right. Oh, so you're a communist?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know.
What is communism?
I haven't talked to a real life communist.
What's
in
a
while.
communist?
Well, you want the people to own the means of production, and
Yeah,
you don't
so
seem to believe in
the people who create
property.
the people who create
Yeah.
value, as in create
Yeah.
the value of commodities, should own the actual value that they create from that process. Yes.
So my answer, if you want the people, everyone in this room and everyone in this country
If
to
they
have
work.
more, what I would want is that you would take less from them. So you tax everybody less. You remove regulation. You create the conditions for competition and capitalism so that more people will have more of their money. I want you, I assume you work. Do you work?
Yeah.
Do you pay taxes?
Yeah.
I want you to keep more of your money. I don't
Right.
know what you do. I don't know
So-
how much you earn. Whatever it
That's
is you
perfect.
earn, I want you to have more
That's
of that
perfect.
money so
So
that you can put that money back into the system.
Okay, so that is the first clip that he ends up reacting to. You can see why, right? Because there was not a lot of back and forth. Zena was letting him talk and letting him get his very bad point across. And so, of course, he's going to use that as, look at how good I am. But all he said is a repetition of what he tried to argue with me. trickle-down economics, right? If you tax the rich less, then there are going to be more jobs, more opportunities, more wealth growth, which is factually untrue. It's just never happened. That's why we're in the economic mess that we are in today, which I was trying to argue that we actually agree that establishment corporatist Democrats have also contributed to this problem. Therefore, it is bad for everybody, both Republicans and Democrats. Okay. Anyways, that is the one and only thing that he ended up responding to on his channel, obviously because MAGA loves to claim that the far left is we're all communists, and they use that in a derogatory sense. And so, they're constantly advocating for capitalism, which objectively has also not been successful. And so I found that to be really, really interesting. But then he, of course, in this clip continues to claim that we were all stinky communists, and he had to wash his hands and take a shower right after the debate. But interestingly enough, I ended up finding a clip, I believe that it was on Instagram, where he was interviewed by Jubilee right after the debate and said he had a lot of fun. And he actually said it during the debate. He said, I love doing this. I'm actually having a lot of fun. So which is it, Dave? Are you having fun, or are we a bunch of stinky communists who don't know what we're talking about? So I thought that was really funny. And the one thing that I want to leave you with is this clip. Because Dave Rubin, grifter that he is, had actually claimed a couple years ago that if Biden was able to get through his full 4-year term, he was going to retire because he didn't believe that he could do it. And lo and behold and lo, he did not retire, and I had the opportunity to demolish him on trickle-down economics and taxing the rich on Surrounded in the year of our Lord 2026. So let's watch his full grift right now.
You know what? Here we go. I'm going to make a bold statement. Michael, I'm going to make a bold statement today. Bold statement. Here we go. If Joe Biden is sworn in on January 20th, 2021, and he completes a 4-year term, actually completes a 4-year term, I will retire. I will retire at the end of that term. That will be it. I will disappear in just over 4 years. 4 years and about a month and a half. That'll be it. That's how convinced. I will just disappear from public life altogether. I will delete all of my accounts, and then you'll never hear from me again. That's how convinced I am that it ain't going to happen. Right? You know what?
Unfortunately, the Surrounded episode ended up cutting out a pretty good portion, and I don't know how much I can say, but you can imagine this clip has something to do with it. So Dave, I'm not sure why you chose not to retire. Maybe you forgot that you made this statement. I don't think the internet will ever let you forget, but I just think it's super interesting that you thought going on Surrounded and debating the far left, quote unquote, was going to be good for you, and it ended up being a massive failure because the internet has been flaming you the whole time. So that was my debate with MAGA grifter Dave Rubin. Make sure that if you haven't subscribed already, that you subscribe over on Substack, over on YouTube. If you prefer to listen to this strictly on audio, you can do so by subscribing over on Apple Podcasts. And make sure that you leave a comment, whether it's on Substack or YouTube. What did you think about Dave Rubin fully lying and claiming that little old me is so dangerous that he feared for his life? My goodness, I had no idea I could instill such fear in MAGA. This is actually fantastic. Maybe I should do more MAGA debates. All right, guys, I will see you in the next episode.